Think back to the last time you were absolutely certain about something you saw, heard, or remembered. You felt it in your bones. You would have sworn under oath that your perception was a perfect mirror of reality. But here is the uncomfortable truth we've been uncovering. At Simple Psych Lab, your brain is not a window. It is a locked room with no windows at all. It sits in total darkness inside a bone fortress called your skull, and it has never once seen the sun, felt the wind, or heard a single sound. Everything you experience as the world is a hallucination, a controlled, high-definition lie your brain tells you every second of the day. That one sentence explains more about your anxiety, your misunderstandings, and your daily frustrations than almost anything else in neuroscience. Most of us assume that if our brain is lying, something must be broken. We think the brain's job is to tell the truth. But in the lab, we've discovered the brain's primary goal isn't truth, it is survival. And when you are fighting to stay alive, the truth is often too slow, too expensive, and far too dangerous. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden mechanics of your mind to understand why your brain constantly deceives you, and why this sophisticated system of lies is actually the only reason you've made it this far. To fix your relationship with your mind, you first need to understand the hardware of perception. Your eyes, ears, and skin aren't cameras or microphones. They're sensors sending chaotic electrical pulses into that dark room where your brain lives. Your brain then has to guess what caused those pulses. It doesn't see a tree. It receives a pattern of electrical signals and compares them to past experiences. Neuroscientists call this predictive coding. Your brain is a prediction engine, not a passive receiver. It constantly projects a model of what it expects to see onto the world. Ever walked into a dark room and could have sworn you saw a person in the corner, only to realize it was a coat rack? That is the prediction engine in action. For a split second, your brain chose the lie of a person over the reality of a coat rack, because back in the ancient world, it was safer to be scared of a coat rack than ambushed by a predator. Your brain would rather you see 100 ghosts that aren't there than miss one lion that is. This is the first fundamental lie. Your brain prioritizes speed over accuracy. It fills in the blanks using its own internal database of fears and expectations, then presents that composite sketch to you as if it were a photograph of the truth. One of the most profound lies your brain tells is the illusion of continuity. We experience life as a smooth, uninterrupted movie, but biologically, that is impossible. Your eyes jump around in quick movements called saccades, and during these jumps, you are effectively blind. If your brain showed you the raw footage, your life would look like a shaky, nauseating handheld film. To spare you from that, your brain performs incredible post-production editing. It cuts the blurry parts and stitches the stills together so seamlessly you never notice the gaps, a process called saccadic masking. Your brain literally erases pieces of time to keep your internal movie stable. And it doesn't stop with vision, your narrative self gets the same treatment. We like to think of our identity as a solid, unchanging core. But in the lab, we see the self more like a story being rewritten every morning. Your brain takes scattered fragments of your past, memories that are biased or incomplete, and weaves them into a cohesive lie that says, "This is who you are." It ignores contradictions and suppresses pieces of your history that don't fit the current character you are playing. It lies about who you were, so you can feel in control of who you are today. Memory might be the most convincing lie of all. We tend to believe memory is a library of recordings, like a hard drive, where we can replay the past exactly as it happened. But at Simple Psych Lab, we found memory isn't a recording, it is a creative reconstruction. Every time you pull a memory from storage, you are not just viewing it, you are rewriting it through a process called reconsolidation. When you remember something, your brain takes the raw data and mixes it with how you feel right now, what you've learned since, and the stories other people have told you. Your brain doesn't care about historical accuracy, it cares about consistency. It wants your past to make sense in light of your present. That is why two people can have completely different memories of the same argument. Their brains have edited the story to protect their identity and ego. This is a survival mechanism. If your brain kept a perfect, unedited record of every mistake, every shameful moment, and every failure, your self-esteem would be so crushed, you'd barely function. Your brain lies about your past to give you the courage to face your future. It acts like a highly biased PR firm, smoothing over your flaws and highlighting your successes, crafting a version of history where you are the hero, or at least the misunderstood victim, but rarely the villain. Your brain also lies to you about the people around you. This is called projection, and it is one of the most efficient energy-saving tools in your neural toolkit. Because your brain sits in that dark room and can't truly know what someone else is thinking, it uses the only data it has, your own internal state. If you are feeling insecure and self-critical, your brain projects those feelings onto others. You walk into a room and convince yourself everyone's judging you, when in reality, they're probably worrying about their own insecurities. Your brain takes your internal monologue and puts it into other people's mouths, presenting its guesses as observations. This lie creates massive barriers in our relationships, but for the brain, it is a brilliant shortcut. Predicting what a stranger might do based on your own internal map is much faster than doing the slow, cognitively expensive work of truly listening and observing without bias. Your brain would rather you be wrong and safe than right and late. It constructs a social simulation of reality that often says more about your psychological baggage than about the actual human in front of you. The final, and perhaps most dangerous, lie is the illusion of objective judgment. We believe we weigh the facts, examine the evidence, and then reach a conclusion. But the neuroscience of confirmation bias shows the exact opposite is true. Your brain usually reaches a conclusion first, based on emotion, habit, or tribal loyalty, and then sends your logical prefrontal cortex on a mission to hunt down evidence that supports that conclusion. It behaves like a corrupt lawyer, not an impartial judge. Your brain will literally filter out information that contradicts your beliefs, making those facts invisible to your conscious mind. Why? Because changing a belief is metabolically expensive. It requires the brain to physically rewire neural pathways, which consumes a ton of energy. To save that energy, your brain would rather sell you the lie that you are right than do the hard work of learning the truth. It traps you in a self-made feedback loop, where every observation seems to confirm what you already knew. In the lab, we call this cognitive stagnation. To your brain, it is optimal efficiency. Realizing your brain is a professional deceiver can feel terrifying. It is like the ground beneath your feet turns to liquid and your internal compass starts spinning. If you can't trust your eyes, your memories, or even your own judgments, what is left? But here at Simple Psych Lab, we don't see this as a tragedy. We see it as the ultimate liberation. The moment you accept that your brain lies is the moment you gain metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. Most people spend their lives as slaves to their brain's first guess. They feel an emotion and assume it is absolute truth. They have a memory and assume it is a perfect recording. They have a prejudice and assume it is a rational observation. But once you understand the mechanics of the dark room, you can start questioning the projections on the wall. You shift from being the character in the movie to being the director in the editing suite. This is the beginning of psychological freedom. You realize you don't have to believe everything you think. You can notice a surge of social anxiety and say, "Oh, that is just my anterior cingulate cortex sounding a false alarm to keep me safe." You can step back from a heated argument and ask, "How is my brain editing this story right now to make me the hero?" By creating that tiny gap between stimulus and reaction, you physically reclaim your prefrontal cortex. You train your logical leader to act as a check and balance against your primitive survival instincts. The most effective tool we recommend for navigating these neural deceptions is something we call the evidence audit. When you are hit with a powerful belief or painful emotion, don't try to suppress it. Instead, treat your brain like a witness on the stand and ask it to show the data. Ask, what part of this experience is raw electrical input and what part is my own internal coloring? If you feel a friend is ignoring you, question it. Is my brain projecting my insecurity onto their silence? If you are absolutely certain you are right in a political debate, ask, What information is my brain filtering out right now to save me the metabolic cost of being wrong? This practice of radical intellectual humility is the only way to break the feedback loops of confirmation bias. It lets you inhabit a world that is larger, more complex, and far more beautiful than the narrow, safe hallucination your brain tries to trap you in. You begin to see that reality isn't something you discover. It is something you co-create with your nervous system. And once you know the rules, you can start playing the game with more kindness and curiosity. As we wrap up today's session, remember this: your brain is not your enemy. It lies to you because it loves you. It creates these illusions because it wants to protect you from a world too vast and chaotic for a single mind to process. The point of understanding these lies isn't to become a cold computer seeing only raw data. The point is to be kind to the complex, beautiful, sometimes confused machine that is your mind. When you catch your brain in a lie, smile at it. Acknowledge its effort to keep you safe. Then take a measured breath and choose to see a little more of the truth. If this analysis gave you some peace and clarity about the voices in your head, you found your tribe. We believe decoding the secret language of the mind is the greatest journey a human can take. Please give this video a like. It helps the algorithm reach people currently lost in the hallucinations of their own anxiety. Subscribe to join our community of observers and seekers. And tell us in the comments, what is one lie your brain told you recently that you finally saw through? Sharing your discovery might help someone else step out of their own dark room today. Thanks for your time, your curiosity, and for being kind to your mind. Until next time, stay aware of the magic behind the curtain.